This is Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in San Luis Obispo today. We are joined by Debbie Arnold. She was recently re-elected to the Board of Supervisors in this beautiful county. Congratulations on your re-election.
Thank you, Brad.
Which means you have many important issues before you. I want to talk about one that you probably did not expect in what's known as the California Valley, the eastern portion of this county and your district near the Carrizo Plain. What did you find?
Well, we're working right now. We're working on a cannabis ordinance.
But why? What did
we were doing that in anticipation of full legalization of marijuana statewide come November.
We'll talk about that.
So we got busy, and before we even got started, we realized that the eastern part of our county, we just had an influx of grows, over 200 grows within a 2-month period.
200 grows of marijuana cannabis in a just desolated,
very isolated area of the county. So we are trying to address that and possibly with an urgency ordinance, but just something it was my hope that as we saw the full legalization of marijuana come to be, that we would have all of our ordinances in place like you would with any kind of manufacturing or growing, or we would be able to zone or have rules in place before people made investments, but it kind of started ahead of us.
But it really demonstrates how quickly events are moving on this issue.
Absolutely.
I mean, last year, finally, after almost 20 years, the state government provided some form of regulatory framework for medical marijuana dispensaries.
Correct.
Then they had that darn drafting error, which made you think you had to pass an ordinance by March 1st. Well, that got resolved.
Right.
But then the marijuana legalization initiative qualified.
Correct. And we were feeling a little rushed when we thought we had to have any rules that we wanted in place at all locally here would have to be in place by March 1st. Well, when that went away, we relaxed a little bit, and then all of a sudden we realized, oh, business is moving in without us. We need to hurry up.
So what are the issues that are before you? Because there are many layers, Supervisor, as you know.
Oh, so many layers now. And really at the state level, until the initiative was completely drafted, we didn't even know what we were looking at, what the state was providing in the way of regulation. So we are doing our best to try to decide where, as every county is in the state, I believe, where we'll allow cultivation, where we'll allow manufacturing, because the cannabis now will be coming in many different forms, including oil, and where we will allow brick and mortar sales. Presently, with the medical marijuana, we have delivery service, and that we don't have any brick and mortar facilities in this county today.
So in both incorporated and unincorporated SLO County, the only way to receive medical marijuana is delivery.
Right now, yeah. And so we're in trying to address all this. We're back to our hurry up mode because we're seeing the business come and we're not prepared really.
So let me ask you about brick and mortar. Let us presume that the initiative passes. Prop 60. Prop 64. Yeah, it's Prop 64. Let's presume it passes. We do know that the California Supreme Court ruled a few years ago in the city of Riverside that they could, as a matter of land use, exclude medical marijuana dispensaries. I don't know if that would hold if marijuana is legalized.
It will still hold, and we actually had an application several months ago, again in a rather remote place that law enforcement was a little bit uncomfortable with the location, and the project we denied. But we do have the ability right now to make those decisions and zone for.
So presuming legalization, do you anticipate any brick and mortar stores for the sale of cannabis?
I'm sure we'll see applications, and each city and
that's true.
All of our village reserve lines inside in the unincorporated areas, we don't know where those applications will come from. But even more interesting to me is the cultivation aspect, because it will be a farming commodity, a crop.
And let's talk about that. You're a farmer.
Right.
I don't know if you're going to start growing marijuana, you grow grapes now. But have you heard from your neighbors, your constituents, about whether they'd be interested in farming what will be a legal crop, cannabis?
We are seeing interest of generational farmers that, I mean, if it's a legal commodity and it is a lucrative commodity to grow,
Right.
maybe we'll change what we're doing now and go into
Now,
that field.
I understand that marijuana plants can be thirsty.
Yes.
And so do we have a sense as to how that plays into, let's talk about the Central Coast, which is in a tricky place in terms of water. I mean, some places have plenty, Atascadero, for example, in your district, whereas you go down the road in your district and, you know, your groundwater basin is collapsing.
Well, what I'm kind of learning through this experience with California Valley and all these
Right.
grows, and oh my gosh, we weren't ready for you, we don't have our rules in place yet, is that it doesn't take a lot of plants to create a lot of product. So what we're seeing, that California Valley happens to be a place with very little water, accessible water,
What?
which is why there are thousands of lots. It was originally subdivided into, you know, home sites,
Sure.
and very little was built out there because the water wouldn't support development. So now we see all these grows and we see water being trucked in.
Is that what it is? They're
Right.
trucking their water
So
in.
you're growing, even though when I say 200 grows, they're just small grows. It's not like the thousands of acres of
Right.
wheat they used to grow out there or anything like that. So even though it is a thirsty plant, I believe when you know, it doesn't take much to make a living.
So then there's that question of cultivation.
Right.
Now, will you allow, or are you going to allow folks to grow their own plants?
That will still be allowed under the
Okay.
state law in the medical arena,
Right.
for sure, personal use. And there will be limitations, you know, personal use, 5
Right.
plants, 6 plants,
Now,
whatever.
What about, does it matter if a marijuana farm, we'll call it, is near a school? Is that something that
Those
you're
are
going
the
to
kinds
consider?
of rules we
Okay.
need to consider. Right now, what we're seeing and why even though law enforcement in our county, they're very concerned about the remoteness of what's going on, but it is legal because
Right.
right now, if you have a doctor's card and I have a doctor's card and 100 of our closest friends have a medical card, those become cooperative grows, and the grower, if they have 100 cards of, you know, medical cards for people, they're growing for those people. It's
Right.
perfectly legal. So they're kind of,
Who would have thunk, by the way?
it's legal right
Who
now,
would have
and it's
thunk?
up to us to sort of direct it to where we think the appropriate
What
place is.
about taxing? We know LA County had looked at taxing
Mm-hmm.
legal marijuana for the purpose of homeless services. It's not going to be on the ballot down there, but are you looking at taxing marijuana countywide?
There will be an ability to tax, and to date, we haven't discussed the taxation. We're still working on
Right.
where is the appropriate place for cultivation, for manufacturing or packaging, and where for distributing.
What are you hearing from your friends? Is there a left-right split on this? Is there a North County, South County split? What are you hearing?
We hear a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
A little bit of everything, and I think the fact that it's been legal for so long
right. At least
for
medically,
medical use,
yeah.
and that's been pretty easy to
Right,
get,
access.
then people are not treating it
Right.
like this is an illegal drug. What are we doing? It's more. I think people do care though about making sure that it's being grown and sold in the appropriate
Right.
places.
And our teenage daughters and sons, that gets dicey.
It is
Right.
going to be it's going to be different. So
Yeah, no,
I think,
yeah.
and as far as our job, you said it a little earlier. For us, it's the land use
Right.
aspect, and it'll be up to us to put it in the appropriate places.
Her name is Debbie Arnold. She was just reelected to the Board of Supervisors in San Luis Obispo County. My name is Brad Pomerance on the Central Coast, Charter Local Edition.